Hello, this is wmpyr. First, just want to say thank you because I received a bunch of comments on my last video, which was about the third degree black belt. And really, in that video, my main focus was just uh, when Helio Gracie had stated that once you get your black belt, the degrees after that just reflect on how well you can teach. It's not about how well you can fight. And I had never heard it stated that simply and direct before, that I was just amazed with that I wanted to share that with you guys, because so many times I hear stuff like a seventh degree black belt should not lose to a fifth degree black belt. People have that perspective, which never made sense to me. So it was very refreshing and I thought it was great. So, that's why I made that video. Anyway, moving along, down in the comments, I received something about personality. Is it important for your teacher to have a decent, maybe not a saint, but a decent personality rather than being a jerk, And for me, to just cut through the chase, I think it's extremely important to have a good personality, or once again, at least a decent personality. In other words, I don't think it's a good idea to go learn from a jerk. Don't learn martial arts from an a-hole. If you do, you're asking for bad stuff to happen to you. Either you're going to get ripped off, you're going to get tricked, or you're going to get beat up, you're going to get used and abused. Might be like a cult. So I think it's a very, very bad idea to go learn from someone that is an a-hole. I don't care how good their skills are. It's a bad idea. Why? Because you as a student should be looking for a good learning environment. If your teacher is a jerk, they don't care about you. They only care about themselves. They're looking to exploit you. So then, if they don't care about you, how can they nurture you? Because that is what a school, a learning environment, a good learning environment, that's what it should be about. It should be a nurturing environment so that you could learn and grow, that's what it's about, and so many times I see on YouTube famous teachers and stuff, and it's so obvious that they're jerks. They're A-class a-holes, but people flock to them, and people, say, oh, this guy's so awesome, I wish I could go learn from them, and they give them praise and stuff. Why? Because they look good, because they look like they have skills. But let's think about that, okay? If you are wanting to learn a style, like, I don't know, whatever style it is, Krav Maga or whatever, you want to go learn that. If you want to learn it, it probably means because you don't know it. That's why you want to go learn it, right? But the way people look at this stuff is that they look at it by, oh man, they watch the video and they go, this person looks really awesome. This person looks like they know what they're doing. This person's skill is very good. How can you make that judgment if you don't know the style? You really can't. You cannot make that judgment because you don't know it. How can you do that? You cannot do that. So that doesn't make any sense to me. But what you should know as an adult is that you should know if a person is nice or if a person is a jerk. By the time you've become an adult, hopefully you figure that out, at least to a certain extent. So then you look at a teacher, martial arts wise, you're looking for a school. We turn that off for some reason. We turn off the personality radar, and we just focus on the skill, and we go, that guy looks good, even though you don't know what the hell you're talking about because you're a beginner, or even if you know some other style, you don't know that style, So that's the problem right there. Don't turn off the personality radar, keep it on. That's more important than the skill radar. The skill radar, who cares, really? Believe it or not, who cares? Because at the end of the day, if the learning environment is not good, I don't care if this guy is super, super skilled and they're awesome, but if this person is a jerk, You go to their school, you're going to be bullied. They're going to treat you as a punching bag or whatever. How can you learn under that kind of stress, under that kind of negative vibe? Can you concentrate? Can you take notes? Can you study? I don't think so. I don't think that's going to be good at all. So that's a big, big mistake. If you're constantly worried about, is this guy going to attack me and hurt me? Is this person going to try to swindle me and take my money? How can you focus on the skill development? You can't. So that's a bad idea. Personality, super important, you know. So I believe that the personality of the teacher, the personality of the students there, really what you're looking for, like I said, not necessarily a saint, because everyone, you know, has good and bad and more shades of gray probably. More important is, what kind of learning environment is this? Is it a positive, good learning environment? Is it safe? You know, are they encouraging each other? You know, does it have teamwork mentality? That's a good learning environment. That's the difference between, or should be the difference between a dojo and a gym. Where you go to a MMA gym, a lot of times those guys are competing and stuff. They don't have the time to teach you a lot of times. They're just looking for dudes that are already good, and then how can we make them even better so they can make our gym look good when they win belts and stuff, you know? So that's what they're looking for. They're not necessarily here to teach everyone that comes in through the door, you know, these skills, because most of those people aren't going to make it, because fight schools, fight training is very hard. A professional fighter's career, how many percentage of the population make it to that? Very, very small. So they would be wasting their time if they're teaching every single one person, you know. So they're looking for fighters. That's the difference. I remember back in the day when Hoist Gracie just pretty much exploded onto the scene. Grappling became so popular. And in Texas, there was really only one school, the Carlos Machado School, just because Chuck Norris brought the Machado brothers from Brazil to Texas so that he could train. That was the one school here in Texas. But I was able to find one in my area, and it wasn't a pure Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu school. It was it was like a mix, but it was a fight school, and the teacher there was a fighter. He was not a nice guy, and if I said that to him, I'd say, you were not a nice guy, or probably still isn't. He would say, I'm a fighter. What do you expect? For me to hold your hand, you know? So he had that kind of attitude, you know? And man, and the school was a fight school. They fought, they competed. I was in the corner for some of those fights. And then I remember seeing challenge matches where people came into the school. And I remember like the downtown judo team just came in one day. It was like 5 dudes, and so it was like 5 against 5, our guys against their guys. Boom, right there at the school, you know? I saw stuff like that, you know, and then, you know, the sparring matches that we had in that school were brutal. You know, everyone was out to get you. The learning environment was not a good learning environment, just because, like I said, the vibe of the school, it was every night was a fight. You know, it was like that, even though we were training. So what it did for me was it made me tough, that's for sure. But, you know, it's like a gym. How many people came to that school and how many people just quit because it was just too rough? A very, very high percentage quit, you know, because it's not a good learning environment. You know, it's either you're tough enough to stay there or not. And I was there for a short time, but during that time, I guess I was able to handle it. I was tough enough. But it was brutal, you know. And then I found another Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu school. I went to that school, and that school, it was a lot more team-oriented. And, you know, the teacher cared about you a lot more, you know, in that sense. And in that case, you know, the development, and I could focus more on the skill and drill it. So then I noticed a big change in the way that I was grappling from the first school to the second school, you know. And then I sparred one of the guys from that fight school, from the original first school, way later, way later. I actually sparred with a guy in my apartment, and when we did that, you know, I saw a big difference in skill. I'm not saying that he wasn't good, you know, that the guy that I sparred against in my apartment. I'm not saying he wasn't, but I'm just saying that, you know, the way that we did things was very different. My technique and my skill, my knowledge had gone up tremendously. I mean, the guy was still tough as nails. You know, he was still very aggressive, and you know, like he was there to fight, and he definitely had those skills for sure. But you know, my approach had changed tremendously. So as far as learning the art went, I felt like I did better. Now, if I wanted to get tough, I would go back to the first school, you know. But then, hey, beware of injuries, because at that school they happened, like seriously, you know. And talked to some guys that suffered some really bad ones, and I saw some really bad ones too. And I suffered some injuries there too. But anyway. Yeah, so hopefully that makes some sense. If you can train under a jerk, hey, that's great for you. That means you're awesome, that you can handle that. You know, if you know this guy's a jerk and you know you got to be careful and all this, and you can handle that, you know, that's definitely, because you don't want to get to the point where you're always looking for, you know, the perfect kind of school, because it's going to be hard to find quality. So then in that case, in order to train, sometimes you have to go to a not so good school. So if you can handle that, that's great. But for a beginner, I don't recommend that. I definitely 100% don't recommend that. Look for a school where the instructor is nice and caring. You know, look and see, is this a good environment, you know? So anyway, that's it for now. Thank you for listening, and take care, folks.